And a million faces formed together, made for elevation. And my soldier won't surrender faith. This like a fire that never burns to embers. The voice of the unheard. Love is the answer.
I gotta speak it, believe it, that's how I feel inside.
I can't sit here quiet.
You can take my heart, you can take my breath. When you pry it from my cold dead chest.
This is how we rise up. Heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. This is how we rise up. Heart is beating faster, feels like thunder. Magic static, call me a fanatic. It's our world, they can never have it. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance, you can't resist us. Can you hear me? Are you listening? Sleeping and the shadows could be making history. Through the fire, on the water, used to be a slave, but now you are a conqueror.
They can take my heart, they can take my breath. When they pry it from my cold dead chest.
This is how we rise up. Heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. This is how we rise up. Heart is beating faster, feels like thunder. Magic static, call me a fanatic. It's our world, they can never have it. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance, you can't resist us. Up, 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 up. We're rising up, 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 up. Rising up, 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 up. We're rising up, 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 up. Rising up, 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 up. We're rising up, 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 up. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance, you can't resist us. This is how we rise up. Heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. This is how we rise up. Heart is beating faster, feels like thunder. Magic static, call me a fanatic. It's our world, they can never have it. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance, you can't resist us.
everybody. Welcome to another episode of Straight Talk with Joe Valaya. I am so glad you are here. All I can say this week is WTF. What is going on out there lately? We got one. We have a spy balloon. Well, Chinese spy balloon. I'm gonna give you my thoughts on it. I'm gonna put my conspiracy theorist hat on tonight. We got that going on. We have an eerily quiet country when it comes to the police department from our social justice warriors. So they're silent, even though we just saw on video a murder of an unarmed black man by the hands of police. But it seems like nobody wants to talk about it. So we're gonna discuss that. We're going to discuss kids bringing guns into schools. It's like, what the hell is going on here? It's very, very troubling. Everything going on. And we're going to break it down. But let's get through the formalities first. So if you're new to the show, obviously welcome. I am Joe Valaya. I'm your host, your guiding light through all the craziness that is going on in the world. And just when you think that it can't get any crazier, it's like someone's like, hold my beer. Here we go. We're going to have a Chinese spy balloon come traveling through the United States. And nobody's going to do anything about it. We're going to wait. We're going to wait for it to get all the way to South Carolina, to the ocean. We're going to wait till it gets all the way to the Atlantic Ocean before we shoot it down. So, of course, I'm not buying it. First of all, but of course, I definitely want to hear all your thoughts on the subject and everything else we're going to talk about. 203-679-9610 if you want to call into the show, 203-679-9610. Or you can email us, straighttalkjv@gmail.com. I do have it up and running. And of course, if you're on any of the social medias, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, all those kind of great social media outlets, you can always join in on our message board. We are up and running on that. So let's dive right into this. So there's a lot of things that the government is telling us about this spy balloon that just isn't adding up for me. So I want to bring this up, and this is from the Sky News has the trajectory of the balloon. Here it is. Okay, so it starts in China. Now obviously it's going to follow the jet stream, because remember, this thing does not have a motor on it, has nothing on it. It's just supposedly a spy balloon. It's just full of helium and it's just let go. This thing flies at over 60,000 feet. It flies between 60 and 65,000 feet. Now, if you look at that image that's on your screen now, it starts in middle China and goes right under Japan. Now, the United States Navy and Air Force has the most sophisticated radar systems right in Japan that this thing had not gotten to 65,000 feet yet. So we already knew it existed. Our military did before it even hit Japan. Now, we have a lot of smart people in this world that work for our government. Not the leaders, they're dumb as shit. But we have some pretty smart people. They had to know where this thing was going. Because, again, it's going to follow the jet stream. It's the only mode of transportation for the balloon. And if you look at the jet stream for this particular time frame, it did exactly that. It headed north towards Alaska. Now, why it was not shot down by the time it hit Alaska is beyond me. And then it allows it to go over Alaska before hitting Canada and then starts making its way down. Now here's the next screen. This is the projected. This is where the track of when it came into America. Again, it followed the jet stream. And now you're trying to tell me as soon as it hit that, first of all, first shot you had is at Alaska. It should have been taken out right then and there. Then you had an opportunity to take it out in Montana, where nobody lives, but they chose not to. And they let this thing just float all the way down to South Carolina, where then they decided that it was safe to take it down. Now, again, I'm going to put on my conspiracy theorist hat. And I'm going to put forth two different scenarios of what I believe happened. And you can tell me which one's worse. One, this is not a Chinese spy. This is not a Chinese spy balloon. This is someone screwing around. It wouldn't be the first time. Put a balloon up there from Alaska and let it go. Because again, the military would have caught this in Japan. Nobody talked about this or even showed an image of it until it hit Montana, which tells me that it started in Alaska and then it worked its way down. I would like to think that our government is not that incompetent that this thing went undetected for that long. And I think they knew it wasn't a Chinese spy balloon, which is why they let it go. And they figured there was no threat to anything. Because listen, they don't need balloons to spy on us. There are plenty there are plenty of satellites in the atmosphere, in space, that can see what you're doing in your backyard at any given time. They do not need to do something like this. So I am going to sit there and say this was probably launched in Alaska by somebody. And this thing just made its way through, and then they decided that they had to take it out after it left America soil because they couldn't afford to let it go any further. It's the only thing that makes sense. Because you can't just have a balloon going over towards Africa or up towards Europe. And I think the American government knew that this was from America and therefore took care of it after it left American airspace, just before it left American airspace. That would make sense. Or it is a Chinese spy balloon. Our government was totally unaware of it because of whatever reason. They didn't let the president of the United States know until 2 days after they first discovered it. How is that even possible? How is the president of the United States not briefed on a balloon from China that's a spy balloon until 2 days after? Again, I'm trying to give our government the benefit of the doubt and saying they're not this freaking incompetent that they didn't know about this. The only thing that makes logical sense, and again, I know talking about the government and logic is usually out of the realm. But I have to imagine that they are not that stupid, because it would show complete weakness on our part. And it does show complete lack of preparedness and competency if the United States government, the United States military, allowed this Chinese balloon to go over Alaska, and through the mainland without doing anything about it. Imagine how that would make us look. Do you think for a second that China would allow anyone's balloon going to their airspace? The answer is no. The answer is no. And I don't care what the military says, whether or not they feel like they mixed their transmitters up, they couldn't get any information. That wouldn't be what this balloon is used for. Again, they have satellites up there that can see what you're doing at any given time if they wanted to. They don't need this balloon. We showed complete weakness if what the government is telling us is true. And then the other side would be, we have our Secretary of State who's over in China right now. We have our Secretary of State over in China as we speak. It'd be a hell of a coincidence if it was theirs when they know that we are coming over there. Craig, you got to tell me why they didn't shoot this thing down over the Pacific as soon as it hit American airspace. So, Craig, I'm going to ask you as our resident liberal here. Do you believe this was actually a Chinese spy balloon? And if it was, do you believe our military is that incompetent of not detecting it before, again, let me put this thing up there in case you just came in. Do you believe that the United States government did not know this balloon was coming? Again, look at his track. This is the track from, again, this is from Sky News. So this isn't a United States, because of course I wouldn't trust the media on anything right now. This is from Sky News. This is its track. You're trying to tell me the government did not know about this? If it indeed came from China. Again, I do not believe it did. I believe this thing started in Alaska and it traveled down through the United States. That's what I believe. Because it's the only thing that I think would make sense on why they played this out the way they did. Because anything short of that is frightening to me and shows just how incompetent our government is. It is scary. So I want to know, everybody that's on here, do you think this was actually a Chinese spy balloon? Or do you think this is some kind of American balloon that they just don't want to freak people out? Well, sure, all of them should have picked this up before it hit Alaska. That's why it doesn't make any sense. That's why none of this makes any sense. But nobody's asking the questions here. It is crazy. We can't get any responses from the government and the DOD in regards to this incident. First of all, listen, they already got it. This is all propaganda. So Craig's question, in case you're not on Facebook, he asked if it wasn't China, if it wasn't from China, then why is China offended that it was shot down and threatened retaliation? Listen, China already thinks that it would not. America has already put it out there to enough Americans that it's a Chinese spy balloon. Now, China just witnessed this thing go across the United States. To Ping, this is a huge success. Even if it's not China's spy balloon, the United States government said it is. And they allowed it to go across the mainland of the United States. That's a huge win. That's a huge win for them. From just a propaganda standpoint. Shit, if you allow me to put a balloon and go across, and I'm a foreign country, and you just let it go right across your country, I'm putting that all over Chinese media. Look what we did to the Americans. Look at all this great stuff we did. They're scared to shoot down our balloon. We got all this intel. Oh my God, I play it up too. I don't care if it was mine or not. I would definitely take responsibility for it. I would definitely. It's a propaganda dream for the Chinese government. They're not going to do anything. Like I said, China doesn't need that spy balloon. And China knows damn well that if anything went into their airspace, they would shoot it down. This is all, I think someone said, for smoke and mirrors. If it was a Chinese spy balloon, then we, as a military who spend $800 billion a year on it, we are in some serious trouble. We are in some serious trouble. Hell, Biden didn't even know about the balloon until Tuesday. And it was already over Montana. So you're trying to tell me, again, and these are all reports from the DOD, that this was first picked up in Alaska. But President Biden wasn't made aware of the balloon until Tuesday when it was already over Montana. And the ones who broke the story was a local news group. A local news group in Alaska broke the story. So again, you're telling me it went all this way and President Biden was not made aware of it. Again, that is Japan. It goes right to the south of Japan, where United States military and Air Force, with the most sophisticated radar equipment you're ever going to find in this world, did not know that that balloon was there. And you don't think that would have easily been tracked by every radar system there is out there? Again, I don't know what's worse. Whether or not we let the spy balloon go, admitting that it's from China, just showing our incompetence, or the fact that they're lying to the American people, or they're straight out lying to us and they don't want to admit that, some idiot put a hot balloon out, a spy balloon out there, or a weather balloon out there, and we didn't see it until it hit Montana. Which is absolutely ridiculous. And freaking Donald Trump has said that never happened, and every senior advisor and DOD that was there said that it never happened under Donald Trump. Now, I know liberals are going to do this because liberals want to sit there and say, oh, don't, give Biden a pass. He didn't know. It's so, it happens all the time. Come on, man. It's bullshit. If you don't think that Donald Trump saw a weather balloon or a spy balloon coming, he don't give a shit whether it was over a populated city. That thing would be coming down one way or another. That thing would have never saw American soil if Donald Trump was in office. I know that liberals and I know the media is going to try to spin this as no big deal. Just like the Nicholas story we're going to talk about. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Don't worry about it. It doesn't fit our agenda, so there's nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. It is ludicrous. And I gotta tell you, I don't know how anybody believes the bullshit story the U.S. government is actually telling us on this spy balloon, or so-called spy balloon. I, for one, am not buying it. I'm refusing to believe that our U.S. military and our government is this friggin' incompetent. Because if they are, we have bigger problems than we ever were aware of. I don't believe it was. I do not believe it was a spy balloon. I said that. I believe it's some balloon that was maybe a weather balloon that was sent off in Alaska. And again, I think the government knew that and thought, since it wasn't first detected and then a local news had to sit there and put it out there, that the government didn't want to look like they had egg on their face. And of course, as everything with this administration, they totally fuck it up. And they totally screwed up what the narrative was going to be. And they thought that if they said it was a Chinese spy balloon, that it was going to have everybody on their side. And if they didn't turn around and say, well, we don't want to hurt anybody, so we're not going to shoot it down. But then yet they shoot it over the Atlantic Ocean? Why? If you stopped all of its capabilities of doing anything, transmitting, getting information, if you stopped it, and you stopped the transmission going all the way across our country, why the hell do you shoot it down in the Atlantic Ocean? Why don't you just let it do its course? I mean, I need people to really just get their heads out of their asses and think about what the hell is going on here. If you stopped all of its capabilities and you were totally fine with it coming across the country, they got no information. Why the hell do you shoot it down after it gets out of our country? Unless you know damn well it's our fucking balloon. And it started in our territory, which is Alaska. And you can't afford to let that thing go past South Carolina's ocean. Because then someone else is going to shoot it down. And then they're going to have our information that we put on it. If there's any. That is the only thing that makes logical sense here. And if you have a different version of that you believe, please, please, please call in because I really want to hear it. 203-679-9610. If you believe that any other story than I just gave you, I want to hear it. Because again, I am putting my faith and trust that our government is not that fucking stupid or incompetent or reckless. That is just my belief. But I think my theory is the correct one. That is not a Chinese spy balloon. The government knew it, and therefore they let it go across the country, and then they shot it down once it got close to our restricted airspace. Because remember, once it goes out a little bit farther from that, it's international airspace. Then America's not allowed to shoot it down. Why shoot it down just before it gets to international airspace? It's a interesting question that I hope somebody asks. if you stopped all of his transmissions and it got no sensitive information traveling across our country, why shoot it down at all? I can't wait to hear those answers. But I'm going to believe that we're not that incompetent. And we'll leave it at that. So, listen, there's a horrible trend going on around the school systems. And again, it's not just Meriden. It's not just Connecticut. It's happening all over the freaking country. And for some reason, kids are finding it acceptable to bring weapons to school. Now, Meriden, since that's where we are, has obviously had a couple of those issues over the last couple of weeks. We've had a young lady bring a firearm to school. We've had knives brought to school. And again, we have them all over the country too. It's not just, again, I don't want to just stick out Meriden because it's happening everywhere. Why are these kids doing that? And I think the number one reason is that kids don't believe that they're going to be punished for it. Because if you look at anything that's going on with juveniles across the country, the joke's on us, the balloon was filled with COVID-23. Okay. In case you're not on there, Paul from our YouTube side said joke's on us, the balloon was filled with, well, even if it was, one, the balloon was 60,000 feet above the land, above the ocean. So even if it was, by the time it got down here, it wouldn't mean much anyways. But that would be interesting. Were they hoping that it was shot down before it got to the ocean? I don't know. I don't believe it. COVID-23, it wouldn't mix good with the helium, and therefore it wouldn't go. So it affected the spy birds. But if you look at what's going on in the school system, and again, and I don't really want to dive too much into the Meriden one because we're going to talk about that later on in the week because I'm a little irritated. Again, I've been after the Board of Ed for a while with some of the stuff that they do and some of the stuff they kind of hide. And this one with the young lady who brought the gun to school, it has really got me a little irritated because especially when I dig into it and we wonder why this wasn't made public. And again, if you're a parent with a Meriden child in the school system, especially if you're in Washington Middle School, you should be pissed off. And I know you guys are. And I've heard from multiple sources that Washington Middle School parents are beyond themselves and are looking for heads to roll on why they weren't made aware that a gun was brought into school. Now, will this young lady be expelled? She better damn well be. But the big question was, why wasn't this brought up ahead of time? And I always try to say, when I read a statement, in fact, I wish I had Benigni's statement. Let me see if I can pull it up because this is the thing that really caught my wheels turning. Is that I was reading Mark Benigni, who is the superintendent of schools. I was reading his statement, and it really got me thinking. Where is it? Come on. Hopefully, I can find it quickly here. Okay, here it is. And again, the statement is what got me my wheels turning. Because when I read things, again, I read between the lines. So I'm listening, I'm reading what he's saying, and I'm like, well, why the hell is he saying that? So let's read this. So on January 26, 2023, a parent reported to staff at Washington Middle School that a juvenile student had brought a firearm to school on the 24th. School initiated an investigation with the school resource officer. Sampson was conducting a walkthrough at the school when the initial report was received, which, again, there are conflicting stories on that, whether or not he was truly there. And they're saying he was not. There are many in the school saying he was not there. But every time an officer gets to a school, he calls it in and he gets put on that patrol. And I'm waiting to get that information. So that's a FOIA request. So the initial investigation between school staff and police was initiated. The student admitted bringing the weapon, initially reported as a BB gun. So she already admitted to bringing a weapon to school. Now, again, some things just don't add up. One, why would you admit anything if you don't have it with you at that time? That's my number one question. Because either that, if you did, you brought it to school, you brought it home, you put it back, and no one knows any wiser. Apparently that did not happen because the parents realized it was gone when they finally reported it. They went and looked, and it wasn't there, I'm taking it. So obviously, they got the weapon, I gotta imagine. But of course, they won't give us that information, and what we're waiting for now is the police report. Because obviously, they're gonna be filing charges. They better be filing charges against this young lady for bringing a gun to school. And that police report should come out. Now, again, let's read on, because this is the part that really, really got me interested on what the hell is really going on here. So the assistant of the SRO, with the assistance of our Special Crimes Division, met with the cooperative parents and student. It was subsequently learned that the student had taken a gun owned by the parents from a locked case and brought it to school. It's important to note the parents are licensed gun owners and had the gun was properly stored in a locked safe. No ammunition was stored with the firearm. Why put that in there? What does that have to fucking do with anything? So, of course, the first thing that goes on, my little radar antennas come up. Who the hell are they trying to protect? Why put that in your letter to parents? I don't give a shit if I am a parent at Washington Middle School, if it was locked in a safe and there was no ammunition with it and the parents did the right thing. I don't care. It has nothing to do with the situation. So, of course, my first question is, who the hell is Mark Menini trying to protect? And, of course, after digging, comes to find out it's the daughter of an employee within the school system. The young lady that brought a gun to school is the daughter of a school official. So now it's starting to make sense why he put that in there, because he's trying to protect the parents. I don't care about what the parents did or did not do. Their gun got into the hands of their kid, who then brought it to school. I don't care if it was loaded, unloaded, locked, not locked. It does not make a difference. So when I read that, I immediately try to find out what the hell, who are they trying to protect? The juvenile was referred to the juvenile court, and this incident will be investigated further by our Special Crimes Division. It's absolutely crazy. But then the last part. The Meriden Police will have an increased police presence at Washington Middle School tomorrow on January 22nd. Why? Why? If it happened 2 days ago and the student didn't have a firearm with them at that time when they got the report, what's there a need for extra police presence? Or is there something else going on? Or do we have a gang problem in the school, and that's what set this whole thing into action? Because from the reports I'm getting, is that the girl brought it in for her boyfriend for protection against people who from another gang who wanted to beat him up. What is going on in our schools? These are very interesting questions that, again, the police report will lay out for us. So that police report, when it is done, Chief Rosado should put it out there to the public so we can all see exactly what happened here. And the Board of Ed better be damn transparent in what they are doing with this child, which should be expulsion. Done. Have a nice day. I don't care if she's an A student, honor student, don't care. You know the rules. It's in the book of code of conduct that every student is given. You do not bring firearms or weapons to school. End of story. And I can't wait to hear from the Board of Ed. And I got to admit, I got to tell you, there's some Board of Ed members who didn't know anything about this. Didn't know anything about it. Listen, I have the utmost respect for Chief Rosado. The utmost respect. And I think he's a pretty straight shooter. Why would I not believe it? Why would I not believe it? Or let me put it this way, Ray. What wouldn't we believe? Give me a scenario that I wouldn't believe. Because she admitted to bringing the gun at school, so therefore automatic expulsion. Just like if you bring any weapon to school. We already know the facts that the girl is the daughter of a school official. We know that for a fact. Which again, just confirms the letters that went out. So, I mean, I don't know what story we wouldn't believe. I mean, would they try to downplay the gang aspect of it? Is that what you would think we would be worried about? Listen, we know the gangs exist. They're shooting at each other all the time. I wish we just take them all, put them in a room and let them have it out. Because I tell you what, they're horrible shots. So I don't know what we wouldn't believe. The underlying facts are known by most people. So I don't know what there would be that we wouldn't believe. So, but that's either here or there. He should still put it out there. It should be made public. Again, obviously taking the names of the minors out, fine. But the underlying issues on why it happened, I think would open the eyes of a lot of people in our school system and in the city on what the hell is really going on with our juveniles. Because I think we already know that gangs are running rampant. And we see all the juvenile crime going on in the city. Not only here in Meriden. I don't want to make this seem like this is a Meriden thing. This is happening everywhere. Because our justice system has gotten so lax on these kids, and which we've talked about many a times over the several months that we've been talking about juvenile crime here. But this isn't a school system, which elevates it to another level. And again, it should be transparent. And I think something like this, especially if the police department didn't put out a statement, we would never hear about this. And that's why Benigni was so pissed at the police department. Because the superintendent's office did not put this out there. This first came out by a press release from the police department. Because Benigni, and I've heard from many sources, was furious that the police department put that statement out. In fact, Terzi called Benigni many times after learning about it to figure out what the hell is going on. And Terzi had to call 3 or 4 times to get that information. But again, when you sit there and start seeing these things happen, and you're watching it unfold, and then Benigni puts out that statement trying to make sure that the parents are not to blame for anything, you start to ask, again, your antennas go up and you want to know more. because you know something doesn't smell right. And sure enough, we find out that it's not what we're hearing. So I don't know what we wouldn't believe from the police departments. In fact, I'm actually surprised that you're even questioning me on whether or not I would believe it. Anything that comes out of the police department. Should I not? I mean, should I not believe something that's coming out of our police department? Do you know something I don't know? That maybe I should start questioning things? They haven't given me any reason to, since Rosado has gotten on board. They haven't given me a reason to question them. I sure hope they don't start giving me reasons to. But I have complete and 100% confidence in the chief that his department's doing a thorough job, and they will put together a report that the public can see. That's all. I'm going to leave it there, and I'll wait for that report to come out. But there is one thing that is quite interesting to me, and there's one thing I don't understand going on in the country today, and that is this whole... I do believe that the PD press release, but again, there are some things that, again, and I hope that these things are put out there. It's not that I don't believe the press release, but if sources are saying that the officer was not there yet, that it's a minor thing. I don't think it's anything major. But if there, and listen, there's some times where a police report is not 100% accurate. I mean, come on, you've been in the business for 20 something years. You know, there are sometimes there are reports, initial reports that come out that are not accurate. And the final report has not come out yet. So that is the initial one, which again, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that maybe it's true. But there are reports from people inside the school that said he wasn't there. And again, it could be a slight oversight. Quite possibly not. We'll find out in the press when he gets the official release. So I'm not ready to throw the police under the bus. I'm not sitting there calling Sampson a liar. I'm not calling anyone a liar. I'm just saying that there are different accounts of what happened. And they never said whether or not she still had the gun on her. So again, that's just one more thing. We're going to have to sit there and watch how it plays out as it comes out. So I don't think anyone's jumping on the police department on whether or not they're being truthful or not. We'll determine that when the final report comes out and we sit there and we read it and we say, okay, fair enough. Again, I don't think it makes a difference one way or not, whether or not he was there or not. That doesn't have anything to do with the facts of why it happened or did it happen. So, I mean, I think you might be taking a stretch there. I'm thinking that, I don't know if you're trying to set us up for us not believing what's coming out or what. I don't know what that would be about, but again, I'm waiting for that report to come out and we'll check it out. But again, there's one thing I don't understand going on in the country today. And that's with the Terry Nicholas case. I just have one question. Where are all the riots? Where is all the outrage by Americans? Where is BLM? Where are all the Democrats? Where are the defund the police activists? Did anyone notice that nothing's going on here in America? We watched someone, listen, George Floyd was asphyxiated. Horrible to watch. And this country lost their fucking minds over it. They lost their minds where a career criminal who was in and out of jail 8 times was murdered by an officer putting their knee on the back of his neck. Career criminal. By all accounts, Trent was a good dude. I mean, he was generally a good person. And they aren't doing anything. It just seems very odd to me when a white officer is responsible for the death of an unarmed black person who, again, was a criminal and a fentanyl addict. This country loses their friggin' mind. But now all these protest groups, all of a sudden, trust our justice system. Does anyone else find this weird? I grabbed a couple numbers. Following the death of George Floyd, there were 4,700 protests, more than 4,700 protests across this country. We were averaging 140 protests a day, and about 15 to 25 million people, let me repeat that again, 15 to 25 million Americans participated, and nearly 1,000 of those protests turned violent. 200 buildings were burnt to the ground, more than a dozen police officers murdered, and there was about $5 billion worth of property damage. And that was all after the George Floyd incident, where, again, he was fixated. Horrible. Again, not justifying it. But again, Tareen, he was a good guy. No criminal record. Brutally beaten by 5 black officers and left to die. And not a fucking word. No one cares. No one cares. Black Lives Matter doesn't give a shit. Raised $100 million on George Floyd incident. You don't see anybody out there other than a couple of late night vigils. Why? Because the officer wasn't white? So therefore, no money to be made here? No cause to promote? Where's our city council? Where's Sonia Jelks? Where's Michael Cardona? Where are all these social justice warriors? Where's our AOC? Defund the police. Where are they all? Not a fucking one in sight. Who cares, right? No money to be made. Or is it the fact that Joe Biden is in office? We can't do this under Joe Biden. We can't let our friggin' people out in the streets causing mayhem under Joe Biden. So there's two things. One, there's no racial component because it was a black victim with 5 black officers. Chief is black. I even believe the mayor is black. So they can't use that angle. So the only thing is, they can't riot because they're the Democrat in the Oval Office. It's the only thing that makes sense. And it wouldn't be politically helpful to any liberal to have riots in the streets at this point in time. Because I remember back when the Democrats supported rioting so much that even Vice President Harris and her cronies were creating bailout funds. Just in case you got caught burning down a federal building, you'd be released the same day. I remember watching Democrats going to the protest. But now, no political grandstanding. Again, no talk of defund the police, and BLM is nowhere in sight. And not a damn thing is being destroyed. Is anyone else connecting the dots like I am? Or is it people who are afraid to say it? Or are people afraid to say the truth? That the whole BLM movement, the whole social justice warrior movement, is nothing but a pile of bullshit. They could care less. It's all done for political gain. It is Democrat organizations who are there to push an agenda. White people are bad, white officers are bad, and they're killing unarmed black Americans. But yeah, again, when we have on video, which is disturbing to watch, you have 5 black officers beat a non-criminal to death. And no one's saying a word. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Move along. Let's talk about a Chinese spy balloon. Where the hell is our dignity as Americans? And why is no one calling these people out? I will. Listen, I've been called a racist so many times in my life, it doesn't even faze me anymore. Because I know they're all full of shit. But where is Sonia Jelks? Where is her bleeding heart for Mr. Nichols? Where is it? Where are the tears from LaRue Graham? Where are your fucking tears? Mike Cardona, where are you, Deputy Mayor? You are all finding out you're full of shit. Each and every one of you. It is quite disturbing. Quite disturbing that we as Americans let this stuff go. But at the end of the day, they always show their true face. And that is that every time you see one of these incidents happen, just know the media and these special interest groups, BLM and the NAACP and the rest of them, are doing nothing more than pushing a narrative, a political narrative and political agenda. And they will use the unfortunate death of people, of Americans, to do that. When, but only when, it's convenient for them. That's it. That's it. They should be ashamed of themselves. Well, I know they're not. Because they have no moral compass to begin with. Never let a tragedy go to waste. The Democrat motto. To them, this isn't a tragedy because it didn't come at the hands of a white officer. So there's nothing to see here. Keep moving along. If it was a white officer, holy shit, what this country would look like right now. I told you, we collectively lost our friggin' minds over a career criminal. turning him in to some kind of martyr. But then a true good guy is murdered by the hands of police. And we don't want to talk about it. Because you could get everybody behind you when you watch that video, that, yeah, I think some police reforms need to happen. This would have been a better case for them to go out there and say, listen, we need to do something here. We have a problem in some of our cities. And you could have gotten every single person in this country behind you. George Floyd, I'm sorry. You couldn't get everyone. He was a career criminal. Career criminal. High on fentanyl. So, excuse me, no, you're probably not going to get everybody that the police were the problem. This is a clear-cut case of police brutality, murder, excessive force, and nobody wants to talk about it. And nobody wants to talk about it. When you could really get something accomplished this moment in time. Liberals are showing their true colors. And they're showing their true racism behind the social justice movement. And I've been saying it for years. The most racist people in this country are the social justice warriors. And again, your Ku Klux Klan, your good old boy, all those groups. And they're showing that right now. Or else they would be in the streets going crazy right now, looking for police reform. And again, they would get it right now. Because any American who watches that video, there's no way you don't say we don't need it. And we should look at what we're doing. Now, again, is a CRB the way to go? No. Does Meriden have this problem? No, we do not. But how, for some reason, we are not all coming together at this moment in time for it, tells me everything I need to know about that movement. Everything I need to know about that movement. And I'm calling bullshit. Because that's what they're all full of. And on that note, I thank you guys all for joining us tonight. It is nice seeing all of you back. Of course, we will be back on Thursday, back to our normal time. And we'll pick up on some of the stuff we talked about tonight and see where we're at on it. I know the Board of Ed, I think, has a couple meetings coming up this week. So we'll see what is brought forth. And I look forward to getting some more information. So until then, guys, as always, it is always an absolute pleasure being here with you guys. And of course, if you guys want to if you guys have additional comments at the end, by all means, email me, straighttalkjv@gmail.com. I always like reading them throughout the week. I always seem to get at least 5 or 6 that are quite interesting. In fact, I think Thursday we'll go through some of the emails that we've gotten over the last month and a half or so since we've done it last. There's some good ones in there. So, but until then, guys, as always, I thank you for joining us. God bless you. And of course, as always, God bless this amazing country we have. Again, if we lose freedom here, there's nowhere else to go. So let's take care of each other. And again, let's look out for one another. So no matter what political agenda you may have, no matter what your affiliation is, no matter what your race is, religion, ethnicity, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we're all Americans, and we need to treat each other like Americans and have each other's backs. That's why I think right now, everyone needs to get behind the Nicholas family and figure out what the hell is going on. So until then, guys, God bless you, and God bless everyone. I love you. Until next time, I will see you later.
And a million faces formed together, made for elevation. I'm a soldier, won't surrender faith. It's like a fire that never burns to ember.